All right, so when we think about the Book of Ruth, our minds usually go straight to the romance, right? The story of Ruth and Boaz.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
But what makes that whole story possible is actually this really intense legal drama.
Exactly. It's a high-stakes negotiation about property and lineage. So today, we're doing a deep dive into that scene in Ruth chapter 4.
And our mission is to unpack the ancient legal mechanics, specifically these twin duties of the Goel, the Redeemer.
And figure out why the closest relative, the one with the first, right? Why he walked away from a deal that literally paved the way for King David.
It's a huge moment.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have two ancient laws we need to understand first. They're intertwined.
We do. So the concept of the Goel was based on two. Let's call them obligations. The first one is land redemption.
Okay, land redemption.
This comes from Leviticus 25, and it's pretty straightforward, really. If a family member like Naomi's husband, Elimelech, had to sell land because of hardship,
Right, they fell in hard times.
the closest relative had a duty to buy it back. The whole point was to keep the property, within the tribe's inheritance.
So duty number one is basically a real estate transaction. Secure the asset for the clan.
That's half of it. The second duty was levirate marriage. You see this in Deuteronomy 25.
Levirate marriage.
Yeah. If a man died without a son, the relative was also obligated to marry the widow, in this case Ruth, to raise up an heir in the dead man's name.
Wait a second. So the first son from that marriage.
Would inherit the land. Not the relative who paid for it, but the new son. It ensures the dead man's lineage continues.
But that creates a huge financial conflict, doesn't it? I mean, the kinsman pays to redeem the land, but the land and his money immediately go to a new heir who isn't even his own.
That is the calculation. He foots the bill, but the benefit goes to the ghost of Elimelech.
Wow.
And that conflict is exactly why this whole thing happens in public.
Rough.
Boaz brings the kinsman before 10 city elders at the gate.
Yeah.
It had to be legally binding with a whole panel of witnesses.
So he sets the trap perfectly. Boaz goes to this unnamed kinsman and just offers him the property first. He says, Naomi is selling a piece of land.
That belonged to our brother Elimelech.
And the kinsman, seeing what looks like a great investment, just says,
I will redeem it immediately. No hesitation.
he sees a quick asset. But then, and this is the key moment, Boaz drops the other shoe.
He does. He adds the condition. He says, on the day you buy the land from Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite.
To maintain the name of the dead with his property.
And suddenly the math just doesn't work for him anymore. He has to absorb the cost, marry a foreigner, and then watch the entire investment go to a child that isn't his primary heir.
He slams on the brakes. He just sees pure loss, unrecoverable loss.
Precisely. He immediately reverses course and says he can't do it because he would, quote, impair my own inheritance.
He chose his wallet over his duty.
He did. And the resolution is so public, he takes off his sandal and gives it to Boaz. That was the custom to seal the deal.
He literally had to take off his shoe in front of the whole town. It's a kind of public humiliation. But he chose profit, and his name is completely forgotten to history.
While Boaz, who understood the exact same costs, the same loss, he chose sacrifice instead of calculation.
And that choice, that willingness to absorb the loss, is what creates this monumental legacy.
It is. Boaz pays the price. He marries Ruth, and their son, Obed, becomes the grandfather of King David. This local legal drama sets the foundation for the entire Davidic line.
So the source material really challenges us, to look at our own decisions. Do we live our lives calculating the immediate profit like that unnamed relative?
Or are we willing to accept a cost for a much greater purpose? It raises a really important question.
It does.
I mean, think about our small daily sacrifices in family, at work, in our communities. They can feel like a net loss in the moment.
Absolutely.
But you have to remember, Boaz's refusal to focus on personal gain is what kicked off a world-changing history.
The entire history of redemption was pushed forward by someone who chose to set aside his calculating nature. So here's the thought for you to take away. What loss are you willing to absorb today that might just lead to an unexpected legacy tomorrow?